Used to describe Preddy hours after his death, a message that was reposted by Vice President J.D. Vance. Let's go now to the White House. CNN's Kristen Holmes is there. Kristen, what more did the president say about what's been happening in Minnesota?
Well, Brown, we heard him touch on a number of topics, including in particular the investigation, saying essentially that he wanted to see everything that came out of this investigation, saying he wanted an honest investigation. The reason why this is notable is we have talked to a number of Republican lawmakers and allies of President Trump's who have all been saying that this needs to happen. There needs to be an independent investigation. Of course, there are still questions as to whether or not the local police department is going to be allowed to participate in this investigation. And President Trump certainly seems to hear those calls from Republicans on having that kind of investigation. And interestingly, he defended his Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Take a listen.
Is Kristi Noem going to step down?
No, I think she's doing a very good job. I think she's doing a very good job. The border is totally secure. You know, you forget. We had a border that I inherited where millions of people were coming through. Now we have a border where no one is coming through.
Now, of course, these remarks come after Noem and her top aide, Corey Lewandowski, were in the Oval Office meeting with President Trump for more than 2 hours yesterday. We are told by sources that it was Noem who requested that face-to-face meeting after President Trump had announced that border czar Tom Homan would be taking over in Minneapolis. All of President Trump's advisors are saying that Kristi Noem is going to keep her job, but it is clear she's moving out of the space of Minnesota, Minneapolis. As we know, the White House and those local officials in Minneapolis are trying to turn down the temperature. I will note Homan is there on the ground. He's already met with Governor Walz, and they both issued statements saying that it was a productive meeting.
All right, Kristen Holmes, thank you so much. Immigration, of course, has been a political strength for President Trump, but it's becoming more of a liability after these shootings in Minneapolis of U.S. citizens. And the death of Alex Preddy has also put Trump's administration at odds with the National Rifle Association. Preddy had a gun in his waistband when federal agents confronted him, with video showing that he never brandished it towards officers, did not appear to even have it in his hand. Listen to President Trump a short time ago. Frank Luntz, veteran pollster and communications strategist, is with us now. I wonder, Frank, how you think the administration is handling this Second Amendment rights issue, considering we heard from the FBI Director Kash Patel suggesting that Preddy broke the law carrying a concealed gun at a protest, where you have gun rights advocates coming out and saying, actually, no, that's not how the Second Amendment works. How are they handling this, do you think?
I think it's all chaos, and it's a tragedy that people have died in this process. That you should not be dying during a protest. That we need to celebrate human life, and that we're politicizing and polarizing on every single issue and every occurrence. I think it's right to say that you don't bring a gun to a protest. I also think it's right that someone should not expect to be attacked, should not expect to lose their life. And I believe that instead of trying to lower the temperature levels, instead of trying to address legitimate issues about what people are doing in this country who are here legally, that they're trying to make political points. And now people have died. We've had this conversation before, you and I, and I've said repeatedly that we're heading towards this kind of confrontation, and we have to do better because the public expects better. They're not trying to support or oppose the president or a policy. In the end, we're just trying to get through the day, and that's not what's happening in America right now.
How are you viewing this leadership change of this immigration operation? Gregory Bovino out, Homan is in. Is it a messaging change, or do you think it's a real change?
I think it's real change because human beings make the decisions, what policies to enforce, how to enforce them. If it's messaging, you're just changing the communications person. This may be real policy. But in the end, how do we prevent this from happening? That should be the number one result of this. How do we prevent Minneapolis from occurring, and Portland before that, and places at the border before that, Los Angeles, for example. And instead, we're trying to shift blame. We're trying to we're trying to politicize something that we should be bringing in common sense.
That's a good move. That's saying
Minnesota Republican gubernatorial candidate Chris Mantle dropped out of the race and explained it in a quite thoughtful video. And he said he couldn't back Republican retribution in Minnesota. This is also what he told CNN's Erin Burnett when she asked why he felt this was a moral imperative.
I've talked to numerous people in my state that are getting pulled over because of the color of their skin, detained of the color of their skin. I've got the federal government saying that they can raid a house on the basis of a Border Patrol agent's signature as opposed to going to a neutral magistrate judge or Article 3 judge. This is just unconstitutional. And more importantly than that, it's just wrong. And to try to dress that up and say that this is some sort of, law enforcement maneuver, it's just not.
Now, Mantle said he supported getting rid of the worst of the worst, but that he's watched this operation go beyond that, getting rid of so many people who are not public safety threats. Do you think he's striking the right tone?
I think the American people believe in that. I think that they want the borders secure. They want to be safe in their homes and in their neighborhoods. I believe that the American people do not want those who come here for the wrong reasons or come here in the wrong way to be here. But they don't want lives taken. They don't want this kind of instability and chaos that we see now in Minneapolis. I just wish every side of this, I don't say both sides anymore because there are more than just two sides. I just wish that every side took into account the reality of the situation and sought to de-escalate, to resolve it, to solve it, to protect the security and the safety of every American, but at the same token to be compassionate and understanding and find some other way other than shooting people to resolve the situation that we face right now. It's a common sense solution. That's language that the president uses. It's language that he believes in. I think we need to focus on that as we go forward so that we don't create another Minneapolis in another city.
Frank, let's talk about how Democrats are messaging this, right? And certainly I think they're not monolithic on this. You saw a number of them in the House vote for the funding bill that included funding for ICE. At least one now says he regrets that, essentially. But now that you have Senate Democrats indicating they're going to hold up that funding. And yet when you hold up that funding, you can also hold up funding for very popular parts of the government, not the least among them, the Coast Guard, right? You've got House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries saying Democrats are going to move forward with impeachment proceedings against Secretary Noem. I was speaking with Eric Swalwell yesterday. He said ICE should be completely crushed and reshaped. Oversight Ranking Member Garcia called for ICE to be abolished, that it's incapable of being reformed. Where do you see the line for Democrats of threading this needle on messaging and policy?
A great question. Show me your solution and don't try to score political points. This should not be the issue. Someone's death should not be the issue that you use to get yourself elected. And it should not be the issue that you use to divide yourself with the other political party. I want to hear Republicans and Democrats, and let me state this, Americans want to hear Republicans and Democrats sitting down in the same room at the same time and coming to some sort of consensus. It has to be there, and we're not trying to achieve it right now. We're trying to escalate so it has an impact on the midterm elections, and that's exactly what should not be happening. There needs to be people out there who are saying that our democracy is under threat, that we're seeing the breakdown of civil society in too many places, that people are now in jeopardy for their safety and their health and their security, and that we have to come together in some sort of alliance. I recognize the Democrats will never credit Donald Trump for doing anything. And Donald Trump he'll behave the same way. And both sides need to stop, figure out what they can get done together, because we don't want another government shutdown. We don't want Washington to show that it cannot work, and we don't want Minneapolis to happen in another great American city.
Frank Luntz, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Still to come, new threats in the days after this widespread winter storm that so many of us have been dealing with. What we're learning about lingering outages, travel disruptions, and more dangerous cold that has settled in across the country. Then later, California's Governor Gavin Newsom launching a probe into TikTok after claims that it censors critics of Trump and his immigration policies. We'll have that and much more coming up on CNN News Central.